Alright, this video is about absolute value. And what is absolute value? Absolute value simply means the distance a number is from zero. And these two bars represent absolute value, and absolute value cannot be equal to zero. That makes sense. Now let's look at some essential examples. Now, what would be the absolute value of negative x? Well, while the distance a number is from 0 is simply a distance. And what would be the absolute value of 7? The absolute value of 7 is simply 7. What would be the absolute value of negative 7? Well, the distance this number negative 7 is from 0 is 7 digits away. What would be the absolute value of negative absolute value 7? Well, the absolute value of 7, this is what we're focusing on, would be 7. But we simply can't ignore this negative sign, so we have to put it here. This would be our final answer. What would be the absolute value of negative absolute value negative 18? What would be? Well, the distance, the absolute value of negative 18 is from 0 is 18. After solving for the distance, we have this negative sign here, so we need to put it here. Now, what would be the absolute value of y? The absolute value of y would be a number away from 0, but remember the negative sign will come over here. And let's say we have this one, negative absolute value negative z. What would be the absolute value? Well, a number z away from 0 is simply z, but once again, because this negative sign is outside the absolute value, we can't just not ignore it. Alright, let's practice absolute value. What is the absolute value of a number that is equal to 7? Well, this case here, we will have x, the absolute value of x will equal 7, and also the absolute value of x would be negative 7. Why? Because if I replace x, that's 7, absolute value of 7, right, is 7. And if I replace the negative 7 over here, the absolute value of negative 7 will be 7, because negative 7, the distance from 0 is 7 digits. Now try this one. What would be the absolute value of x plus 2 equal 9? Well, there are two ways, right? So this would be x plus 2. The absolute value of x plus 2 is x plus 2 equal 9. Or the absolute value of x plus 2 is also negative 9. Now, how do we solve for x? If we minus 2 over here, we need to minus 2 on the other side. That will be x equal 7. And let's minus 2 and let's minus 2. We're going to add these two minus negative numbers, so x would equal to negative 11. Alright, let's go ahead and let's prove this answer. Let's replace the first x for 7. So 7 plus 2 equal 9. So the absolute value of 7 plus 2, that will be 9. Absolute value of 9 is 9. That is correct. And now let's replace the x for negative 11. So absolute value negative 11 plus 2 is equal to 9. So now 11 plus 2 will be absolute value negative 9 equal 9. This is correct because the distance this is away from 0 is 9 digits away. Alright, here's another example. Absolute value x 2x minus 5 equal 1. Alright, so let's go ahead and write 2x minus 5 equal 1 and 2x minus 5 equal negative 1. Let's do the first one. Plus 5 plus 5. 2x equal 6 divided by 2. Let's divide 2x is equal to 3. Next one, we have plus 5 plus 5. 2x equal, that will be 4. Let's divide by 2. X is equal to 2. Right? You can always go ahead and you can substitute these in the absolute value over here, and you should get 1. Now let's try this one. 3 absolute value x minus 1 minus 2 equals 7. So before we can do anything, let's try to reduce this and simplify it before we try to find the absolute value. So let's add 2 over here, and let's add 2 over here. So now we will have x absolute value x minus 1 equals 7, 8, 9. Now let's divide by 3 because we need to isolate the absolute value. Let's divide by 3. Now we will have the absolute value of negative 1, x minus 1 equal 3. Now we can go ahead and we can further solve this problem and we can find the absolute values. Let's go ahead, and x minus 1 will be 3 and x minus 1 will be negative 3. This will be plus 1 plus 1, x equal 4. This one will be plus 1 plus 1, x will equal to negative 2. Here's another example. Absolute value x minus 4 equals 6. Alright, so we can go ahead and we can find the absolute value. This will be x minus 4 equals 6, x minus 4 equal negative 6. Now we can go ahead and we can add 4 and add 4 over here. X is equal to 10, and let's add 4, let's add 4. X is equal to negative 2. Now try this one. 2 absolute value x plus 3 equal 10. So before we do anything, we need to try to always simplify this before we try to find the absolute value. So let's divide here by 2. We will have absolute value x plus 3 equal 5. Now we can go ahead and we can try to find the answers. X plus 3 equal 5, x plus 3 equal negative 5. Now let's subtract 3. Let's subtract 3x equal to, let's subtract 3. Let's subtract 3. X is equal to negative 8. Alright, here's another example. 3x minus 1 absolute value equal 8. Alright, so we can go ahead and we can try to find the absolute values. 3x minus 1 equal 8 and 3x minus 1 equal negative 8. So let's add 1 here. Let's add 1 here. 3x equal 9. Let's divide by 3 and x will be equal to 3. This is the first. Alright, let's add 1 here and add 1 here. That will be 3x equal negative 8 plus 1. That will be negative 7. Let's divide by 3. Let's divide by 3. Okay, so x will be equal to negative 7 over 3. Again, you can go ahead and substitute and you should get this value with either or. Right, here's another problem. 4 absolute value x minus 2 minus 3 equal 9. Okay, so before we when we try to find the absolute values, let's try to reduce. This will be plus 3 plus 3. 4 x minus 2 equal 12. Let's divide over here. Let's divide on this side as well. Now we will have x minus 2 equal 3. Now we can go ahead and we can find the absolute values. This will be negative 3. Let's add 2. Let's add 2. First one is x equal to 5. Let's add 2. Let's add 2. In this case, the other one will be x is equal to negative 1. Now what about this one? Absolute value x plus 5 is equal to absolute value x to x minus 1. How would we solve these? So here's the trick for this one. So whenever we have absolute values on both sides, let's use this little formula here that reminds us how to solve it. So whenever a is equal to b, we can do this, or we can also do this: a is equal to negative b. So let's go ahead and let's try to solve it using this small little formula over here. So whenever both sides are absolute values, let's use this. Okay, so the first one, let's do it over here. We will simply write x plus 5 is equal to 2x minus 1. And now let's use this one. It will be x plus 5 equal to negative, and now this value here, which is 2x minus 1. Alright, let me add 1 here and add 1 here. That's x plus 6 equal to x. Now let me subtract 1x and subtract 1x. That will be x equal to 6. Now let's solve for this one. X plus 5 equal, I need to distribute this negative. That will be negative 2x. Negative and negative is a positive 1. Now let's add 2x here and add 2x here. There's 3x plus 5 equal 1. Let me subtract 5 and let me subtract 5. That's 3x equal to 4, negative 4. Let me divide by 3 and divide by 3. The answer would be negative 4 divided by 3, and again you can prove this by plugging these numbers into the equation over here. I hope this video helps you to solve absolute value problems.